Jake Martinez sat in front of his computer screen at Luna Gateway Station and rubbed his tired eyes. The coffee maker had broken again and he was running on 3 hours of sleep. His job was simple: fix computers and keep the internet working for everyone on the space station most days. Nothing exciting happened. The station floated in orbit around Earth like a giant metal wheel. People from many different planets visited here to trade and talk. Jake liked his quiet job in the computer room, where he could watch funny videos and eat instant noodles when nobody was looking. That morning started like any other. Jake was checking the communication systems when alarms began ringing throughout the station. He looked at his screens and saw something strange. A small ship was coming toward the docking bay very fast. The ship looked damaged and was spinning out of control. Jake grabbed his tablet and ran toward the docking bay. Other people were already there, including Dr. Amanda Foster, who studied alien lifeforms. Captain Lisa Rodriguez was shouting orders to her security team. Everyone looked worried. The strange ship crashed into the docking bay with a loud bang. Metal pieces flew everywhere and sparks shot from broken wires. When the noise stopped, everything became very quiet. Jake could hear his own heart beating. Smoke came from the crashed ship. Then a door opened slowly. A figure stumbled out. Jake had never seen anyone like this before. The person looked like a human woman, but her ears were long and pointed. Her hair was silver like moonlight, and her skin seemed to glow softly. Strange dark marks covered both her arms like tattoos, but they moved and shifted as Jake watched. The woman wore clothes that looked like they were made from starlight itself. She fell to her knees, breathing heavily. Dar Foster stepped forward carefully, but the woman looked up with bright green eyes and spoke in a language nobody understood. Her voice sounded like music, but also like someone who was very scared. Jake remembered his translation app on his tablet. He walked slowly toward the woman and held up his device. The app tried to understand her words and showed text on the screen. The woman said she was Lirale Mu. She came from the Elven Dominion and was running away. Her people had marked her as dangerous because she studied alien technology instead of staying with traditional elven magic. Captain Rodriguez asked many questions, but Lirale looked confused and frightened. Jake noticed she kept looking at the moving tattoos on her arms with shame. Her whole body shook like she was cold even though the station was warm. Jake did something that surprised everyone, including himself. He took off his jacket and put it around Lirale's shoulders. Then he pulled a packet of instant noodles from his pocket and offered it to her. Lirale stared at the small packet for a long moment, then she looked up at Jake with those bright green eyes. She spoke again, and the translation app showed her words. She asked why a stranger would give her food when her own people had thrown her away. Jake smiled and said that was what humans did for each other. They helped people who needed help, especially people who were far from home. Dr. Foster wanted to take Lirale to the medical bay for tests. Captain Rodriguez wanted to put her in a secure room until they could contact her government. But Jake had a different idea. He asked if Lirale wanted to see something cool. Jake pulled out his tablet and showed her a video of cats playing with boxers. Lirale watched with wonder as the small animals jumped and tumbled around. She had never seen anything like it. Jake explained that humans kept these animals as friends, not for work or food, but just because they made people happy. Lirale touched the screen gently, as if the cats might jump out then. Jake showed her pictures of Earth, forests and oceans and cities full of lights. Lirale asked if all humans lived together in peace. Jake laughed and said, no humans argued and fought. Sometimes, but they also helped each other and shared their food and story. Lee said her people believed that caring about other species made elves weak. Her government taught that only pure elven magic mattered, and learning from aliens was forbidden. That was why they marked her as dangerous and sent her away. Jake looked at the moving tattoos on her arms and asked what they meant. Lirale explained that the marks showed everyone she was Silvisis, which meant the dangerous one in elven language. Anyone who saw the marks would know to stay away from her. Jake shook his head and said, the marks looked beautiful, like living art. He said, humans often put permanent pictures on their skin to show things they cared about. Maybe her marks showed that she cared about learning and growing for the first time since crashing. Lirelei smiled. It was small, but real. Jake felt proud that he had made someone feel a little better. On what was probably the worst day of her life, Dr. Foster and Captain Rodriguez were still arguing about what to do with Lirelei. Jake suggested that she could stay in the extra room next to his quarters. He would help translate and make sure she felt safe. Captain Rodriguez said it was against protocol to house unknown aliens without proper clearance, but Dr. Foster pointed out that Lirelei was obviously not a threat. She was alone, scared, and asking for help. Jake promised to take full responsibility. He would watch over Lirelei and help her communicate with everyone. He had extra blankets and plenty of instant noodles to share. Lirelei listened to their conversation through the translation app. Her eyes grew wide when she realized Jake was offering to help her even though they had just met. She asked why he would risk trouble with his leaders for someone like her. Jake thought about it for a moment, then he said that was just what humans did. They saw someone who needed help, and they helped. That was how humans had survived and grown strong, by working together and caring for each other. He showed Lirelei more videos on his tablet. People rescuing animals from floods, neighbors helping neighbors after storms, strangers sharing food with people who had nothing. Jake explained that humans believed everyone deserved kindness. Lirelei watched the videos with tears in her green eyes. She said her people would call this weakness, but it looked like strength to her. Jake nodded and said, maybe that was why humans and elves could learn from each other. Captain Rodriguez finally agreed to let Lirelei stay temporarily. Dr. Foster would run basic health checks to make sure she was not carrying any dangerous diseases. Jake would serve as her guide and translator. As they walked through the station corridors, Jake showed Lirelei how everything worked. The artificial gravity that kept their feet on the ground, the air recyclers that made sure they could breathe, the computers that connected them to the rest of the galaxy. Lirelei marveled at human technology. She said elves used magic for most things, but human machines seemed more reliable and predictable. Jake laughed and said human machines broke down all the time, but humans just fixed them and kept going. When they reached Jake's chambers, he gave Lirelei the bed and said he would sleep on the small couch. She protested, but Jake insisted that guests should be comfortable. He heated up 2 packets of noodles, and they ate together while watching more videos. Sorelli asked about human families and friends. Jake explained that humans chose their families as much as they were born into them. People who cared for each other became family even if they shared no blood. The station day cycle ended. Jake gave Lirelei clean clothes and showed her how the shower worked. She thanked him in broken English words she was learning from the translation app. Jake lay on his couch, looking up at the stars through the small window. He wondered what tomorrow would bring. He had no ship, no weapons, and no special training, but he had Wi-Fi and an open heart. Maybe that would be enough. In the bed nearby, Lirelei whispered elven prayers of gratitude for the first time in months. She felt safe. The human who had helped her was nothing like what her people taught about other species. He was kind and generous and asked for nothing in return. She touched the moving tattoos on her arms, and for the first time did not feel shame. Maybe being dangerous meant something different to humans. Maybe it meant being brave enough to care about others. Both Jake and Lirelei fell asleep that night, not knowing they had just started something that would change the galaxy forever. It began with instant noodles and cat videos, but it would grow into something much bigger. The next morning would bring new challenges and new friends. But tonight they were just 2 people from different worlds, sharing food and kindness in the vast darkness of space. 3 days after Lirelei arrived, another ship appeared near Luna Gateway Station. This one moved differently than normal ships. It seemed to dance through space like it was swimming in water. Captain Rodriguez received a message asking for permission to dock. The pilot introduced herself as Zara Veltar from the Cathari homeworld. Jake had read about the Cathari people. They had crystal-like skin that could change colors, and they were known as the best engineers in the galaxy. Their ships could bend space itself. But when Zara emerged from her ship, Jake noticed something unusual. Her crystal skin was dim and gray, instead of the bright colors he expected. She moved carefully, like someone trying not to be noticed. Dyer, Amanda Foster ran her standard scans and found that Zara was healthy, but seemed very tired. Lirelei watched from nearby and spoke quietly to Jake through the translation app. She said, Zara looked like someone carrying a heavy secret. Jake approached Zara with his tablet ready to translate, but Zara surprised him by speaking perfect English. She explained that Cathari were required to learn many languages for their engineering work. Zara asked if the stories were true about Luna Gateway being a place where aliens could find safety. Jake nodded and said everyone was welcome here as long as they came in peace. Zara crystals began to glow just a little bit brighter that evening. Jake organized what he called a welcome dinner in the station cafeteria. He cooked several packets of instant noodles and found some canned vegetables in storage. Lirelei helped by using elven magic to make the water boil faster. Zara watched the elven magic with wonder. She said Cathari, science could explain many things, but magic was still a mystery. Lirelei laughed and said she found human technology just as mysterious. Everything seemed impossible until someone explained how it worked. As they ate, Jake asked Zara about her journey to Luna Gateway. Zara crystals dimmed again, and she spoke quietly about her homeland. She explained that Cathari society was divided by strict rules. Male Cathari became warriors or leaders. Female Cathari were expected to stay home and raise children, but Zara loved engineering and building things. She had disguised herself as male for years to attend engineering school and work on starships. When her true identity was discovered, she was told to choose between giving up engineering forever or leaving Cathari. Space Jake shook his head and said that seemed like a waste of talent. Why would anyone want to stop someone from doing what they were good at? Zara smiled sadly and said tradition was more important than talent in her cultural. Lirelei nodded and said she understood completely. Her people had similar rules about what elves could and could not study. She showed Zara the moving tattoos on her arms and explained that they marked her as dangerous for learning about alien cultures. The two alien women began talking about their experiences. Their stories were different, but they both felt the pain of being rejected by their own people for wanting to learn and grow. Jake listened and felt angry that anyone would hurt his new friends. 2 days later, another ship arrived. This one was sleek and silver, with strange symbols carved into its hull. The pilot was Vera Brightscale, a reptilian woman from the Soren diplomatic corps. Her scales could light up in different patterns like a living rainbow. Farah spoke many languages and carried official papers from her government, but when she talked to Jake privately, she revealed the real reason for her visit. She was running away from an arranged mating ceremony that would end her career as a diplomat. Saran tradition required female diplomats to retire when they mated and focus on laying eggs. Vera had spent decades building relationships with other species and creating peace agreements. She did not want to give up everything she had worked for. Jake invited Vera to join their evening gatherings in the cafeteria. Now they had 3 women from 3 different species, all rejected by their own people for wanting more than their societies allowed. Jake started what he called cultural exchange nights. Each person would share something special from their home world. Lirelei performed elven starlight magic, making tiny lights dance in the air like fireflies. Zara demonstrated Cathari crystal singing where her skin created beautiful musical tones. Vera showed how Soren diplomats used color patterns to communicate complex ideas without words. In return, Jake shared human culture through his tablet and laptop. He showed them movies and music and pictures of Earth. They laughed at comedy shows and cried during sad stories. They were amazed by human diversity and creativity. Jake also taught them human games, like chess and card games. Lirelei was excellent at strategy games, while Zara preferred puzzles that required building things. Vera enjoyed word games and riddles that tested diplomatic thinking. Maya Patel arrived at the station during the 2nd week. She was a human anthropologist who studied how different species interacted with each other. Dr. Foster had called her to observe this unusual gathering of aliens. Dar Patel was fascinated by what she found. She said she had never seen such rapid cultural exchange between species that had never met before. Usually it took years for different aliens to trust each other enough to share personal stories. Jake credited his laptop and internet connection. He had downloaded massive amounts of human knowledge before leaving Earth. Wikipedia articles about every subject, history, science, art, literature, philosophy, music, everything humans had learned was available to share. The alien women were amazed by human knowledge sharing. Jake explained that humans believed information should be free. Most human discoveries were published for everyone to read and use. This was very different from their own cultures, where knowledge was carefully guarded. Lorelei said elven magic was passed down only through family lines. Zara explained that Cathari engineering secrets were locked away in guild vaults. Vera noted that Soren diplomatic techniques were considered state secrets, but here on Luna Gateway, they freely shared everything they knew. Lorelei taught the others basic elven biology and how magic affected living things. Zara showed them Cathari mathematics and energy manipulation. Vera shared Soren, negotiation strategies and conflict resolution. Jake watched his friends learn from each other and felt proud. They were creating something new, something that had never existed before, a place where beings from different worlds could come together as equals. The breakthrough came when they started combining their knowledge. Lorelei elven magic could enhance Zara crystal technology. Vera diplomatic skills helped them communicate complex scientific ideas. Jake human internet provided the foundation for organizing and sharing all their discoveries. They created new inventions almost by accident. Lorelei magical healing techniques combined with human medical knowledge produced treatments that worked on multiple species. Zara energy crystals powered by elven magic lasted 10 times longer than normal. Vera translation protocols helped them understand languages from dozens of different worlds. Captain Rodriguez watched these developments with growing interest. She reported to Earth government about the amazing progress happening on her station Earth. Officials were very excited about the potential benefits. More importantly, word was spreading through unofficial channels. Alien traders who visited Luna Gateway told stories about the sanctuary where beings could be themselves without fear. These stories reached other aliens who felt trapped by their own cultures. Jake started receiving messages through his internet connection. Beings from across the galaxy were asking if the stories were true, could they really find acceptance at Luna Gateway? Did humans actually help aliens without asking for anything in return? Jake always answered yes, everyone was welcome, as long as they came in peace. He sent coordinates and basic travel information. He also included pictures of his friends laughing together and sharing meals. By the end of the month, 5 more aliens had arrived. Each had their own story of rejection or exile, but they all found the same thing at Luna Gateway: acceptance, friendship, and the freedom to be themselves. Jake realized his small act of kindness had grown into something much bigger. He was no longer just helping one scared elf girl, he was accidentally creating the galaxy's first informal sanctuary for outcasts and misfits. The alien women had become a close family. They cooked together, learned together, and supported each other through difficult memories. Jake provided the technology and resources, but they provided the heart and soul of their growing community. Late at night, Jake would sit with his laptop updating the Luna Gateway database with new discoveries. His friends would work nearby. Lorelei practicing new magic techniques, Zara building crystal devices, Vera writing diplomatic reports about their success. Jake looked around at his chosen family and smiled. He still had no ship, no weapons, and no special training. But he had Wi-Fi, an open heart, and friends who believed in making the galaxy a better place. That seemed to be enough for now, but Jake suspected their peaceful days were numbered. Word was spreading too fast, and change always made some people nervous. Soon they would face their first real challenge. The question was whether friendship and knowledge could stand against fear and tradition. Jake hoped they would find out together. The first warning came through official diplomatic channels. Commissioner Helen Chang from Earth government called Captain Rodriguez with urgent news. 3 different alien governments had filed formal complaints about Luna Gateway. Their Elven Dominion claimed the station was harboring a dangerous criminal. Lirelay, Moonwhisper, was wanted for corrupting pure elven bloodlines with alien contamination. Her exile was supposed to be permanent. But now humans were interfering with elven justice. The Empire demanded the return of Zaravel Tar, who had stolen state secrets by disguising herself as male. They said she was a spy and a traitor who must face punishment according to their ancient laws. The Soren Republic wanted Vera. Brightscale returned. Immediately she had abandoned her mating duties and brought shame to her diplomatic family. They considered her presence at Luna Gateway an insult to their entire culture. Commissioner Chang told Captain Rodriguez that Earth was under pressure to cooperate. Jake listened to the conversation through the station communication system and felt his stomach drop. His friends were in danger because he had tried to help them that evening. Jake called an emergency meeting in the cafeteria. Zara and Vera already knew trouble was coming. They had been monitoring communications from their home worlds, and the news was not good. Lorali explained that Admiral Keth Moore was leading a military expedition to recapture her. He was her own uncle, who had voted for her exile. The Admiral believed that allowing corrupted elves to live freely would destroy their entire civilizations. Showed them intelligence reports about Kethari. Battlecruisers moving toward human Space Queen. Cythera herself had declared that no female would be allowed to shame the Empire by choosing engineering over motherhood. Vera had received official messages stripping her of diplomatic immunity. Her own family had disowned her and demanded that she return to face trial for abandoning her reproductive duties. Jake looked at his friends and felt anger burning in his chest. These were good people who just wanted to learn and grow and be themselves. How could their own families treat them so badly? Dharmaya Patel had been studying their situation, and she had disturbing news. The 3 alien governments were not just angry about their specific citizens. They saw Luna Gateway as a threat to their entire social order. If word spread that aliens could find freedom among humans, other members of their species might start asking difficult questions. Why should elves be forbidden from studying alien science? Why should female Cathari be banned from engineering? Why should Soren diplomats be forced to give up their careers? Jake realized they had accidentally created something revolutionary. By simply treating everyone with kindness and respect, they had challenged the basic assumptions of multiple alien civilizations. Captain Rodriguez called another meeting. With Earth officials, the pressure was mounting from multiple directions. Some Earth politicians wanted to cooperate with the alien demands to avoid conflict. Others saw the potential benefits of the technological advances happening at Luna Gateway. Commissioner Chang explained the difficult position Earth was in. They were a relatively new species in galactic politics without the military power to stand against established empires. But they also believed strongly in individual freedom and human rights. Chang asked for permission to try a different approach. Instead of fighting or negotiating, what if they simply shared everything they had learned? His friends had made incredible discoveries by working together. Maybe those discoveries could benefit everyone. Dar Patel supported Jake's idea. She had been documenting the research breakthroughs happening at Luna Gateway. The combination of elven magic, Cathari engineering, and Soren diplomacy, enhanced by human knowledge sharing, had produced remarkable results. They had developed new medical treatments that worked on multiple species' energy systems that were twice as efficient as anything previously known. Communication technologies that could translate languages and real-time materials that could adapt to different environmental conditions. Jake proposed uploading all their research to the Galactic Internet Network, making it freely available to every species. The catch would be that the research clearly showed diverse, collaborative teams produced better results than isolated homogeneous groups. If the alien governments wanted access to these breakthroughs, they would have to acknowledge that cooperation between species and genders was beneficial. Not Dangaruslarelli thought the plan was brilliant. but risky. Her people valued magical knowledge above everything else. If they saw what could be accomplished by combining elven magic with alien science, they might change their minds about isolations or agreed that the technological advantages would be hard for the Cathari to ignore. Their entire economy was built on being the best engineers in the galaxy. If humans could match their abilities through cooperation, it would force them to reconsider their gender restrictions. Vera pointed out that the diplomatic implications were even more significant. The research proved that diverse perspectives led to better problem solving. This contradicted the Soren belief that traditional wisdom was always superior to new ideas. Jake spent 3 days preparing his presentation. He gathered all their research findings, documented their collaborative methods, and created visual demonstrations of their discoveries. He also included human history, showing how cooperation had helped humanity survive and growth. Alien fleets arrived. While Jake was finishing his work, Admiral Keth Moore brought 12 elven warships, with weapons powered by concentrated starlight. Queen Cythera commanded a massive Cathari dreadnought that could bend space. Around itself, the Soren fleet included diplomatic vessels designed for psychological warfare. Captain Rodriguez tried to negotiate, but the alien commanders refused to listen. They demanded the immediate return of their citizens and threatened to take them by force if necessary. Jake asked for one chance to present his findings. He would meet with the alien leaders and show them what their people had accomplished working together. If they still wanted to take his friends after seeing the research, he would not resist. The meeting took place in Luna Gateway main conference room. Jake sat at one end of a long table with his laptop and a simple presentation. Admiral Keth Moore represented the elves. Queen Cythera spoke for the Cathari Soren. Ambassador Thresh carried his people. Demands. Jake began by showing them basic human history: wars fought for freedom, sacrifices made for others' rights, mistakes corrected through learning and growth. He explained that humanity's greatest weakness was also their greatest strength. They cared about strangers. Admiral Keth Moore interrupted to say that caring about inferior species was exactly what made Lirelay dangerous, but Jake continued his presentation, showing the research breakthroughs their people had achieved together. The medical treatments impressed even the proud elves. The energy systems made Queen Cythera lean forward with interest. The diplomatic protocols caught Ambassador Thresh attention immediately. Jake explained that none of these discoveries would have been possible without combining different perspectives and knowledge bases. Isolation had limits that cooperation could overcome. He showed them projections of what could be accomplished if their species worked together. Instead of competing, medical advances that could extend lifespans, energy solutions that could power entire civilizations, communication systems that could connect every inhabited world. But then Jake showed them the most important slide, a simple graph comparing the achievements of isolated groups versus collaborative teams. The data was clear, and undeniable. Diversity produced better results every time. Admiral Keth Moore studied the data for a long time, his ancient elven pride warred with his logical mind. The evidence was overwhelming, but accepting it would mean admitting his people had been wrong for centuries. Queen Cythera asked technical questions about the Cathari contributions. Her female engineers had accomplished things that male engineers had struggled with for generations. The implications were staggering. Ambassador Thresh wanted to know about the diplomatic applications. Could these methods really improve negotiations between hostile species? The research suggested they could, but it would require changing fundamental assumptions about superiority. Jake waited quietly while the alien leaders processed what they had seen. He had done everything he could think of. Now it was up to them to decide whether tradition or progress was more importantly. Rayleigh, Zara and Vera watched from the observation deck above the conference room. Their futures hung in the balance, but they had faith in their human friend who had shown them that kindness could be stronger than fear. The galaxy was about to discover whether cooperation could triumph over conflict, whether an IT worker with Wi-Fi and an open heart could change the minds of ancient civilizations. The answer would determine not just the fate of Luna Gateway, but the future of interspecies relations across the stars. The silence in the conference room stretched for what felt like hours, Admiral. Kethmore stared at Jake's laptop screen where the research data still glowed. Queen Cythera drummed her crystal fingers against the table, making soft musical sounds. Ambassador Thresh had his colorful scales dimmed to show deep thought. Jake waited patiently. He had learned from Vera that good diplomacy often meant knowing when to stay quiet and let others process information. His heart pounded, but he kept his face calm. Finally, Admiral Kethmore spoke. His voice carried the weight of centuries, but also a new uncertainty. He said the research was impressive, but how could they trust data that came from corrupted sources? Lireley had been marked as dangerous for good reason. Pulled up another file on his laptop. This one showed the testing methodology they had used: independent verification from multiple sources, double-blind experiments, peer review by scientists from different species. Everything had been checked and rechecked. Dr. Rebecca Stone had arrived from Earth 3 days earlier. She was a quantum physicist who specialized in verifying research across species barriers. Dr. Stone confirmed that all the Luna Gateway discoveries met the highest scientific standards. Queen Cythera asked about the practical applications. Could these energy systems really be built on a large scale, Doctor? Stone nodded and explained that Earth was already planning to construct prototype facilities. The designs were elegant and efficient. Ambassador Thresh wanted to know about the diplomatic protocols. Could they really improve negotiations between species that had been enemies for generations? Dr. Maya Patel joined the conversation to explain her findings. Dr. Patel had studied the conflict resolution methods developed by their mixed species. Traditional diplomatic approaches assumed that one side must win and the other must lose. But the Luna Gateway protocols focused on finding solutions that benefited everyone. The key insight was that different species brought different problem-solving approaches. When combined, these approaches could find answers that no single species would discover alone. Competition had its place, but cooperation produced better long-term results. Jake showed them more data from his laptop. Human history provided hundreds of examples. Teams that included diverse perspectives consistently outperformed homogeneous groups. This pattern held true across every field from science to art to business. Admiral Kethmore asked a pointed question. If elves shared their magical knowledge with other species, what would prevent those species from using it against them? Jake smiled and said that was exactly the wrong question. The right question was, what could elves accomplish if they shared their knowledge and learned from others in return? The research showed that magical techniques improved dramatically when combined with alien science and human technology. Lireley had discovered that elven healing magic worked better when guided by human medical knowledge. Cathari crystal technology could store and amplify magical energy in ways pure elven magic could not achieve. Soren diplomatic methods could help elves negotiate better relationships with other magical species. Queen Cythera EXAMINED the technical specifications for the enhanced crystal systems. Her people prided themselves on being the galaxy's best engineers, but these hybrid designs surpassed anything they had created alone. She asked how many female Kethari had contributed to the research. Jake pulled up the personnel files. Zara had been the primary contributor, but she had also recruited 2 other female Kethari engineers through secure communications. The women had worked in secret, sending their ideas through encrypted channels. Their contributions had been essential to several major breakthroughs. Queen Cythera realized she was looking at proof that her empire had been wasting half its engineering talent. Ambassador Thresh studied the diplomatic applications carefully. The data showed that negotiations succeeded more often when teams included multiple species and both genders. Different perspectives helped identify solutions that satisfied everyone involved. Jake showed them the most powerful example. A trade dispute between 3 species had been resolved in 2 days using Luna Gateway protocols. The same dispute had been ongoing for 15 years using traditional methods. The alien leaders requested a recess to consult with their governments. Jake agreed and suggested they tour the station to see the research facilities in person. He wanted them to meet the people behind the date. Admiral Keth Moore visited Lirelei in the botanical lab where she was growing hybrid plants that combined elven magic with human agricultural science. The plants produced food that was more nutritious and grew faster than anything either species had achieved. Elona Lirelei greeted her uncle with formal politeness but also showed him proudly what she had accomplished. She explained how human genetic knowledge had helped her understand how magic affected plant DNA. The results could help feed millions of people. The Admiral watched his niece work with obvious skill and passion. He remembered when she was young and curious, always asking questions about how magic worked. Now she had found answers by combining elven wisdom with alien knowledge. Queen Cythera toured the engineering lab, where Zara was building a prototype communication device that could translate any language in real time. The device used Cathari crystal technology, enhanced by elven magical resonance and human programming. Zara demonstrated the device by having conversations with crew members from 6 different species. The translations were perfect, capturing not just words, but emotional undertones and cultural context. Queen Cythera had never seen anything like it. The Queen asked why Zara had hidden her gender for so long. Zara explained that she loved building things and solving problems. Gender seemed irrelevant to engineering talent. The disguise had been necessary to pursue her passion. Ambassador Thresh met with Vera in the diplomatic center, where she was training human negotiators in advanced Sorin techniques. The humans were quick learners and brought their own insights about conflict resolution. Vera showed him transcripts of successful negotiations that had used hybrid diplomatic methods. Traditional Sorin protocols combined with human empathy and Cathari logical analysis had resolved disputes that seemed impossible. The ambassador realized that his people diplomatic methods could be improved by learning from other species. Sorin tradition was valuable, but it was not perfect. Collaboration could make it better. That evening, Jake organized what he called a demonstration dinner. Each alien leader would experience a full cultural exchange. Evening they would share food stories and knowledge, just like the regular residents did. Jake cooked his famous instant noodles, enhanced with ingredients Lirelei had grown using magical agriculture. Zara provided crystal lights that created beautiful patterns. Vera used diplomatic color protocols to create a welcoming atmosphere. The alien leaders found themselves relaxing despite their formal positions. Admiral Keth Moore shared stories about ancient elven magic. Queen Cythera talked about Cathari engineering achievements. Ambassador Thresh discussed famous diplomatic victories, but more importantly, they listened to human stories about cooperation and growth. Jake showed them videos of humans working together to solve problems, building cities, exploring space, helping each other during disasters. The demonstration that impressed them most was simple. Jake pulled out his smartphone and showed them Wikipedia. He explained that this represented the collected knowledge of the entire human species, freely available to anyone who wanted to learn. Admiral Keth Moore asked why humans shared their knowledge so freely. Jake explained that humans believed knowledge grew when it was shared. If one person discovered something useful, everyone should benefit. The more people who understood something, the more it could be improved. Queen Cythera pointed out that this seemed inefficient. Why help competitors become stronger? Jake smiled and said that was another wrong question. Competitors became partners when everyone benefited from cooperation. Thresh understood the diplomatic implications immediately. If every species shared knowledge freely, all species would advance faster. The galaxy could solve problems that currently seemed impossible. Jake pulled up his final presentation, the Luna Gateway proposal. He suggested that Earth formally requests recognition as an independent sanctuary zone where any being could seek refuge regardless of species or gender. In return, Earth would share all research freely and establish Luna Gateway as a permanent center for cooperative research. Any species could send representatives to participate. All discoveries would benefit everyone. The Proposal included safeguards to address legitimate security concerns, refugee status would be voluntary, and reversible shared research would be limited to beneficial technologies. Diplomatic immunity would protect all participants, but the core principle was simple. Everyone deserved the freedom to choose their own path and contribute their talents to the common good. Traditional social structures could coexist with individual liberty. Jake closed his laptop and looked at the three alien leaders. He had given them everything he could offer: data, evidence, examples, and proposals. Now they had to decide whether fear or hope would guide their choices. Admiral Kethmore, Queen Cythera, and Ambassador Thresh looked at each other across the table. They represented ancient civilizations with proud traditions, but they also faced a simple choice. They could cling to old ways and miss the benefits of cooperation, or they could trust. That diversity made everyone stronger. The evidence was clear, but change was never easy. Jake waited quietly with his friends watching from the observation deck. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance. Would wisdom prevail over tradition? Could cooperation triumph over isolation? The answer would come soon, and everyone at Luna Gateway would live with the consequences. 6 months after the historic meeting, Luna Gateway had transformed beyond recognition. The small research station now bustled with activity as beings from dozens of species worked together in laboratories, workshops, and meeting rooms. Jay still worked in the computer center, but his job had evolved dramatically. He was now officially Earth First Heart Ambassador, a position created specifically for him by the United Nations. The title made him laugh, but he took the responsibility seriously. Admiral Keth Moore had returned to the Elven Dominion with samples of the hybrid research. His report to the Elven Council sparked the most heated debates in their history. Traditional elves argued that cooperation with aliens would corrupt their pure magical heritage, but younger elves, like Tala Stormheart, began arriving at Luna Gateway, seeking to learn these new techniques. The Elven Council finally voted to establish a small research exchange program. They would send selected elves to study cooperation methods while maintaining their core traditions. Lorelli had been offered full reinstatement by the Elven Dominion, with honors and a position leading their new interspecies magical research division. She politely declined, explaining that Luna Gateway had become her home instead. She accepted a compromise position as the official Elven ambassador to Luna Gateway. This allowed her to maintain ties with her people while continuing her groundbreaking research. The moving tattoos on her arms had been reinterpreted as marks of wisdom rather than danger. Queen Cythera had faced a revolution in her own empire. Female Cathari engineers across their territory had learned about Zara's success and demanded equal opportunities. The Queen chose adaptation over confliction, established the Cathari Gender Equality Initiative, and appointed Zara as the first female chief engineer ambassador. The Empire discovered that doubling their engineering talent pool led to incredible technological advances. Zara now split her time between Luna Gateway and Cathari Space, helping to integrate female engineers into projects that had been male-only for generations. Her crystal skin glowed brighter than ever before, reflecting her joy at finally being accepted for who she was. Ambassador Thresh had perhaps the easiest transition. The Soren Republic quickly recognized the value of the new diplomatic protocols they established Luna Gateway as an official diplomatic training center, and appointed Vera as director of interspecies relations. Relea had become the galaxy's most sought-after negotiator. Her methods combining Soren tradition with multicultural insights had resolved conflicts that had lasted for decades. She traveled constantly but always returned to Luna Gateway with her success stories attracted more refugees, and researchers every week brought new arrivals, seeking sanctuary or wanting to participate in the cooperative research programs. Jake had stopped being surprised by new species and focused on making everyone feel welcomed. Maya Patel had documented the Luna Gateway effect, the measurable improvement in innovation and problem-solving that occurred when diverse groups worked together. Her research was being studied by universities across the galaxy. Rebecca Stone led the physics department, where breakthrough discoveries happened regularly. The combination of different species knowledge bases had revolutionized their understanding of space-time and energy. Jake's laptop had been upgraded several times to handle the massive amounts of data flowing through Luna Gateway. The station now had the most advanced computer network outside of Earth itself. All the information was freely available to anyone who wanted to learn them. Most significant development was the formal recognition of Luna Gateway as a protected sanctuary zone by the Galactic Council. Earth had successfully argued that diversity and cooperation benefited everyone. The sanctuary status meant that any being could seek refuge at Luna Gateway regardless of their home government policies. Several species had initially objected, but the technological and diplomatic benefits had won them over. Jake's office now included a wall covered with thank you messages from beings who had found new lives at Luna Gateway. Some had returned home to advocate for change, others had stayed to continue their research. A few had started families, mixing species in ways that created beautiful hybrid children. The children fascinated Jake the most. They grew up speaking multiple languages, naturally understanding different cultures, and taking cooperation for granted. These kids would probably prevent future conflicts simply by existing every evening. Jake still organized community dinners in the expanded cafeteria. The instant noodles had been replaced by proper kitchens, serving food from dozens of worlds, but the spirit remained the same. Everyone shared stories, knowledge, and friendship. Jake often sat with his original friends, Lirelei, Zara, and Vera, marveling at how much had changed. They had accidentally started a revolution. With nothing but kindness and curiosity now, their methods were being taught across the galaxy. One evening, Jake received a priority message on his laptop. It was from a young human girl named Amy Chen who lived on Earth. She had been following the Luna Gateway stories and wanted to know if she could visit. Amy was 12 years old and fascinated by alien cultures. She had learned basic galactic common from online courses and dreamed of becoming a xenobiologist like Dr. Foster. Jake smiled as he typed his response. He told Amy that Luna Gateway welcomed visitors of all ages as long as they came with open minds and hearts. He included pictures of the diverse community and information about educational programs. Amy message reminded Jake of why he had started helping Lirelei in the first place. Simple human curiosity about other people and cultures. That curiosity had grown into something that changed the galaxy. The irony was not lost on him. An IT worker, with no ship, no weapons, and no special training, had accidentally become one of the most influential humans in galactic politics. He had done it by sharing food and Wi-Fi with strangers. Jake looked around the bustling cafeteria, at beings from worlds he had never imagined. They were laughing together, learning from each other, and planning projects that would benefit everyone. The sight never got old. Lirelei was teaching a group of young aliens how to make plants grow, using magical energy. Zara was helping Cathari, and human engineers design better crystal batteries. Vera was mediating a dispute between traders from competing species. Dr. Foster had established the Luna Gateway Academy, where young beings from any species could study together. The first graduating class included students from 23 different worlds. They would carry the cooperation message back to their home planets. Prime Minister Elena Vasquez of Earth had visited Luna Gateway and declared it humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization. She announced plans to build similar sanctuary stations in other star systems. The expansion would be gradual and careful. Each new station would be established only with local government approval and would focus on specific research areas: environmental science, medical research, engineering, innovation, and diplomatic training. Jake had been asked to advise on each new station, but he preferred to stay at Luna Gateway. This was home now, surrounded by friends who had become family. The place where it all started would always be special. Late that night, Jake updated his personal log on the laptop. He wrote about the day events, the progress on various research projects, and his hopes for the future. The log had become an informal history of the Luna Gateway experiment. Historians from multiple species studied his entries to understand how cooperation had emerged from such simple beginnings. Jake's entry that night was simple. Another day, another opportunity to help people find their place in the galaxy. The universe was vast and full of wonders, but the most important discovery was that everyone deserved kindness. He closed the laptop and walked to the observation deck, where Lirelei often went to practice her meditation. Jake found her there watching the stars and asked if she ever regretted leaving her home. Lirelei smiled and said Luna Gateway had taught her that home was not a place, but the people who accepted you for who you truly were. Her real family was here, among beings who valued her curiosity over her conformity. Jake nodded and looked out at the stars, wondering what tomorrow would bring. Another refugee seeking sanctuary, another breakthrough discovery, another chance to prove that cooperation was stronger than conflict. Message alert chimed on his tablet. Jake smiled when he saw it was from Amy Chen, confirming her visit. In 2 weeks, she was excited to meet the aliens and learn about their cultures. Jake typed back that Luna Gateway would be ready for her. They had excellent Wi-Fi, reliable translation software, and the most diverse group of friends in the galaxy. Amy would fit right in. As Jake walked back to his quarters, he passed the memorial wall where they honored beings who had died fighting for the right to be themselves. The wall served as a reminder that freedom was precious and worth protecting. But tonight, Jake felt optimistic. The galaxy was slowly changing, one person at a time. Luna Gateway had proven that different did not mean dangerous, and diversity made everyone stronger. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and opportunities. Jake would face them the same way he always did, with Wi-Fi, an open heart, and faith that kindness could change the universe. The revolution that started with instant noodles and cat videos was far from over. It was just beginning.